to the Entrepreneurial CPA Show, where we take a deep dive in knowledge needed to break free of the box and punch above your weight with some of our special COVID-19 episodes. As always, I'm Garrett Wagner, your Entrepreneurial CPA channel co-host. And because Dr. Sean is still locked in New Jersey under quarantine, we're bringing on some special guests to get through this. And because it just snowed here in Rochester, New York on April 22nd, 2020, I'm going to Miami, Florida, going warm. We got Hector Garcia, principal from Quick Bookkeeping, accounting technology company, fellow CPA, fellow YouTuber. Hector, welcome to the Entrepreneurial CPA Show.
Oh, no, man. Thank you for having me. This is great.
So how is life in sunny, beautiful Florida?
Well, it's a strange time to be cooped up in quarantine because the weather is amazing. Although it rained in the last couple of days, which is good for the lawn, I guess. That's why every time it rains, we look at the good side of it. But no, the weather is great. I mean, I've seen people talk about snow and stuff. Actually, the whole concept of snow is so foreign to me. You know, as a South Floridian. But yeah, but it's great down here. I mean, we do have our quarantines, and we do have certain rules, like you have to wear your mask to go to the supermarket and stuff. So it's we're not completely separated from it. I mean, we're in a big metro down here in South Florida, so we do have a risk of becoming a hotspot. But either way, it's always been a great place to live until a hurricane comes in.
Right, until those hurricanes. So Hector, as we deal with COVID-19, all the craziest right now, I'd love to kind of hear from you because your practice is very different. You're doing bookkeeping, accounting services, some consulting, all those things that a CPA firm should be doing. But what you're really doing that's truly unique and impactful is you're really big on social media and YouTube. And I'd love if you can share how that's helping enhance your practice always, and especially during these turbulent times. And because you're not just doing email blasts, you're doing social media, you're doing YouTube, you're getting to your clients. If you can help share with people, how does that work and how you've been able to leverage that?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is if accountants are watching the show, and I know this is a timeless topic, it's marketing. How should I do marketing, right? And there's all sorts of different ways to do marketing. Email blast is a great way to do marketing, as long as the list of people in the email are your potential ideal customers. So that email blast will be a much targeted way of working. Whenever you work with social media, unless you take your time to build a community and then you market to that community with your content, you're still shouting at the top of a rooftop and waiting until somebody listens to the message. Now, if you're an accountant and you're a specialist in any specific area, like for example, I'm a specialist in QuickBooks, I'm a specialist in inventory, then what I want to do is I want to make sure that the world knows I'm a specialist in a technical way, in a deeply technical way. And the only way I found sort of a quick, easy way to do that is to create videos to show people what are the things that I do when I sit down with a client and help them fix their inventory in QuickBooks, or fix their general ledger in QuickBooks, or work with QuickBooks in general ways. I decided to become a specialist in the software, and I decided to let the world know that I'm a specialist by creating videos that essentially give away the knowledge, right? A friend of mine by the name of Seth David, which is also a YouTuber that inspired me to do this, he says that you give away your knowledge to own it, because when someone listens to that information or learns that information for the first time, they will never forget the first person they heard it from. And from that moment forward, whether you're copying it from someone else or borrowing it or whatever, from that moment forward, it becomes your knowledge, it becomes your trick, it becomes Hector's training, right? So by doing that, you create really, really strong goodwill. And while 99.9% of the people that will be watching your video tutorials in YouTube, or your trainings in YouTube, or whatever videos you create in the YouTube platform, 99.9% of people won't be customers, but at 0.1, it's 100% sure they want to work with you, because they've already feel like they built a relationship with you by just getting access to that information that you, let's call it generally, gave it away. But you weren't just generous by giving it away, you did it strategically, so you can let the world know what your expertise is and essentially attract customers with it. So it's actually a great win-win, because you you have a conduit in which the customer is going to watch you for 10, 15 minutes and really truly be impressed by your specialized knowledge. And at the same time, you get the goodwill from people saying, wow, he's so nice giving away that information for free. So you actually get, it's a win-win situation for the viewer and for the accountant as well.
And it definitely is. And that's something we talk a lot about with CPA firms we work with. And I speak about this all the time. The firm of the future and the firm of going forward, as it becomes more advisory, needs to be able to demonstrate its value out to those around it. They need to look and feel differently. You can't be just another boring CPA firm that gets a little bit of word of mouth referrals and send generic email blast out. You've got to highlight your, as you said, highlight your expertise, your knowledge, get seen by your target clients in the right way. Because like you said, there's nothing better than knowing, okay, Hector is the expert on inventory and QuickBooks. So right now I feel like my accountant's not doing a good job. Perfect. Who do I want to go to? Well, Hector's the expert. I don't need to, go knock on a bunch of doors. I'm not going to ask my coworker or my friend who I should go to. Hector's the expert in this area. And there's nothing better than being the expert. So how did you get started going from just being a CPA to being this YouTube expert on all things QuickBooks related?
Yeah, it's a kind of a two-pronged question, I think. The first part of the question is how do you become a specialist? How do you become an expert? Well, you got to put your 10,000 hours, right? So that doesn't change. That doesn't go away. You do have to do the same thing over and over and over with many clients for many years until you become an expert. That one's not the easy one. Actually, starting a YouTube channel is the easy thing. The not so easy thing is to gain the experience to be able to then provide a lot of value through your content. But one of the best ways to become an expert at something is to stop taking clients that are not in that target, right? So if you want to become an expert at nonprofit or restaurants or manufacturing or construction, you literally, the first move of courage you have to make is you have to drop the other clients, because unfortunately, if you don't open the capacity for the new clients of that niche, of that target, you're just not going to get them. It's just a rule of thumb. And then the other thing that happens is when you drop those other clients, you will now find yourself with more free time to spend with your small clients, like maybe 2 or 3 clients in the area you want to become an expert at. And then you have to kind of offer proactively to say, hey, do you mind if I do a little bit deeper work? Do you mind if I actually sit there and help you job cost every transaction? You mind if I sit down with you for a whole day and watch you work so I understand what your needs are? Do you mind if I go on the road with one of your, with your foreman or your field manager or whatever, and I can observe what they do? And then once you kind of get entrenched with what happens inside the industry, you start catching the lingo. You start understanding the dynamics of the employee and the business owner, and you start learning the dynamics of their customers and their vendors, and all of a sudden, then you become an insider. So when the next opportunity comes in, and you have a construction client, and you start using their lingo, start using their, telling, war stories about when you went, to a construction site with your last client and you learned all these things, people are going to say, wow, you were born to do this. You were born to be my accountant, right? And then when people feel that way, first of all, they're going to hire you. Second, they're not really going to, fight your price so much, because the other accountant or the other options never really told them the war stories about you going out in the field and understanding what they're doing. And lastly, you're going to be incomparable. Like, you're not going to be able to be compared, and you can't be a commodity. So when you sit down with that business owner and say, these are the options that we have for services, and you start coming up with all these creative services that you're offering, because they're beyond the financial statement and the tax return and the payroll work, right? So when they're beyond that, and the service is, hey, I'll help you reconcile your field notes with our accounting records, and they're going to say, wait, is that even a thing? Well, you can make it a thing, right? So this is where innovation really comes from, is where understanding not the accounting pain points of the client, the actual real operating pain point of the clients, and then being able to translate those to accounting events. And this is a typical example that I have, right? So I'm a specialist in inventory. That's my specialty. And every time a client asks me any question about inventory, I know the real problem is actually not inventory. It's some other tangential thing that was affected by good inventory or bad inventory, right? So when a client comes to me and says, Hector, I want to hire you to fix my inventory, I could stop and say, you know what? You're right. Inventory needs to be fixed. And then I can, put my blinders on, get on the computer and start making journal entries and fix inventory. But instead, I want to be intrepid and I want to ask questions to figure out what's the real problem with the business. So I ask something like, why? Why would you want me to fix your inventory? And then they're going to answer you in layers, right? So they'll start by saying, well, my cost of goods sold is incorrect. My inventory asset is incorrect. My financial statements are incorrect. And then you ask one more layer and you say, well, why is it important to have your cost of goods sold and your inventory asset correct? And then they may have the right answer and say, well, because I need to know what my gross margins are. And you can say, wow, you nailed it. That's right. Gross margins need to be right. And you can put your blinders on and go fix the gross margin. But you go deeper and say, how does not knowing your gross margins have affected your business? And then they come back and this is the third layer. Now they go back and go, well, the challenge is that we need to calculate commissions to our salespeople, and we pay commissions based on gross margin. And I can never get the commissions correct. And I can say, well, question number 4, right? Well, what problems does not knowing the commissions of your salespeople have caused? Well, the problem is it delays payroll, it stresses everybody out, and then the salespeople are always with their own spreadsheet because people that get paid commission, and this is something that you only know by being in the field and knowing this. People that get paid commission, they have their own spreadsheet where they track their own commissions, and they wait for their paycheck to come in, and they want it to match, and it never matches. Like because there's always misunderstanding about is the shipping included in the commission? Is the customs included in the commission? We gave a special discount. Was the discount in the commission or not? Or this product, my boss asked me to sell it at a fire sale, and my commission shouldn't be hurt by the fact that we sold it under cost, and now you're clawing back my commission. So there's a little tiny different things that you see in the field by sitting down with a salesperson of a wholesale type of business all day long. And then you ask one more question and say, what's the problem with that? Why does having an issue between what your salesperson says commission is and what your payroll is? And then usually when you get to the fifth question, they'll tell you the real problem, which is, well, you know what? My top salesperson quit on me last month, right? Because he was fed up with this, dog and pony show for every month. And then you're like, that's the real problem. What is the value of you keeping your top talent? And what is the cost of you losing your top salesperson? And we actually quantify that, right? Then losing your top salesperson could be losing 10% of your clients because they go to the competition or whatever, or losing real bottom line numbers. So now we understand what the real underlying problem is, which I want to keep my talent, keep my top, my top salespeople, but they started with a question like, can you fix my inventory? So it's things like that that give you the extra edge over anyone else. And your client will find absolute priceless that they can work with an accountant that can read between the lines, spend the extra time to help them with the things that really matter, not just the financial statements, not just the proverbial tax return.
And that makes complete sense of, you're taking that knowledge you get as an expert in the area and you're digging deeper with your clients. You're asking questions to demonstrate your real value. So I got a final question for you. We're almost out of time. Something you said was very important. Kind of that innovation and kind of getting started. If I'm a firm and I haven't done any social media, I'm not social before, I don't know what YouTube is at all. Should I be afraid to get started? Should I feel like it needs to be perfect to get started with? Or kind of like me, when you first started doing this, it took a while to learn how to be better about being on YouTube and getting things prettied. But at some point, we just had the courage to get started.
Yeah, let me give you a multi-prong answer, if you don't mind. I know you want to keep this short, but short's not my style. So when you create a video, I think it's important for you to know what's the purpose of you creating that video, right? In some cases, I'll create a video of how to, reconcile a Schedule L with QuickBooks, right? So something very technical, very specific. If I were to create that video and I were to not worry about how I look and the lights and the audio quality, but if at least it's rough, but it's good enough for someone else to understand, what could I do with that video? Well, one of the things I can do, I can use it to train my internal team. So at least I'm not finding myself showing 5 people how to do one thing. All of a sudden, you learned the ultimate proverbial thing that entrepreneurs want to learn, which is how to multiply yourself. So by training once, by showing how to do it once, and then using it as a tool to show everybody in your team, you're going to save tons of time. So there's one reason to do it and not even worry about the marketing aspects of making the video. Now let's take it one step further. It's not even making a video. It's a Zoom call. So you have a Zoom call with your employee and you have a conversation about whatever, let's say reconciling a schedule L with the QuickBooks balance sheet, and you record it. And that becomes your video. Now that doesn't have to go public, but that becomes your video. Now, once you get comfortable, once you do 10 of those, 12 of those, and you get the critique from your employees and you notice, the ums, the ums, the ifs, the buts, and you start, improving the light and the sound quality until you get to the point where your internal videos are great. Then you take it to the next level, which is you start recording videos for your clients. Because if you are an accounting professional, I know for a fact that you find yourself answering the same question to the same client every year. Like, why is my profit this much, but I don't have this much money in the bank? I literally find myself as a tax preparer answering that question every single year. So I said, you know what? I'm going to create a video that explains that. And every time my client says, hey, remember the video? Here you go. Boom. Because it might not be a great customer service to answer with a video, but your clients will go back and say, he's right. He already explained this to me, right? Now, the other side of the coin there is you can tell the client, hey, here's a 10-minute video that explains it. Call me back just with the questions that you have after watching the video. So you can still have that personal touch, but you can shorten the amount of the conversation, the length of the conversation, the amount of training to just the things that the client has questions for. And what's even more interesting about making videos for your clients, again, I'm not even talking about prospects or marketing, just for your clients, is you go through a standard presentation of maybe how Schedule C works. And then your client had the time to think about the questions. So instead of the client feeling forced that they have to ask the right questions at the 5 minutes, 10-minute phone call that they have in front of you, they have the time to think about it, do the research, and they're going to come back with much smarter questions, which is going to allow you to then talk about deeper, more important things. And that's going to unlock all sorts of opportunities. It's like, like you open the drawer and it's Narnia, right? Because your client had the opportunity to think about the questions because you kind of gave them some homework. At the same time, clients that take the homework and do the homework, they're really good clients as well, because they're the clients that are going to value your time, and most of them are okay with making your phone calls and your consultations shorter, and they're okay with paying a fixed fee because you are focused on the solution, not focused on the time. So that's also a great gateway into charging, subscription or value pricing. And lastly, the third part is, how do you make the videos for marketing? Well, once you're doing great with your employee videos, then you're doing great with your customer videos, then try to do a couple of tutorials of frequently asked questions from your prospects. So if you find yourself sitting with prospects answering the same question, like, how do you charge, right? Or how often would I be able to talk to you? Or whatever the common prospect questions, you have that information. It will be very possibly varied per firm. Make videos about that, right? So that what's really neat about that is before you meet a prospect for a 20, 30-minute call, you can say, hey, these are the frequently asked questions that our prospects ask. I would love for you to review them. That way, when we sit down, we can talk about those or talk about some additional questions that you have. And if it happens to be that your client watches one of your videos and you answer a question that they had before you talk to them, they're going to think that you are a magician, right? They're going to think that you can see the future. They're going to think that you were designed and put on earth just to serve them, because they're going to see an immediate connection even before you start talking to them. So, long answer to a short question. I'm very passionate about this subject. Creating YouTube videos is not complicated. You can use a tool like Zoom to record conversations or a screen share without anybody else. You can use tools like Loom, right? An L instead of a Z, free tools to record your screen share. And YouTube channel, it's free to open a YouTube channel, and it's fairly simple process to upload it. You can even search in YouTube how to upload YouTube videos, right? Pretty meta. So you can do that, and all the tools are there. So honestly, in my opinion, YouTube is the new business card. right? I don't even print business cards anymore. When somebody refers me a new client, like you have a friend of a friend or somebody stumbles upon my profile in some sort of public search, and I say, hey, have you been to my YouTube channel? And they say no, I don't even take that client, because I'm going to waste so much time at this point explaining myself, doing the value proposition, right? Proving my services, creating my value, where if someone can just spend 30 minutes on my YouTube channel and go, I hate this guy, I don't want to work with him, or I love this guy, I really want to work with him. So it's also a great filtering system.
Well said. I think part of that is it's going to make accountants really uncomfortable to think of this idea of like telling your client to like go to YouTube. But a lot of other industries already did that. You know, you've got FAQs, you got sections on the website, you got knowledge. Other industries have already done this. It's the way the world works. Get up to speed with the rest of the world. Share your knowledge. Because like Hector said, there's one of you. How do you multiply yourself? Share that knowledge over and over again with other people. And that's what's most important, especially right now with COVID-19 and what's going on. You're probably getting a ton of the same questions. Would it be easier to answer it once and share with all of your clients in the right kind of way? So if you got questions on how to become more of a social firm, I'll tag Hector in the social media post. I'm sure he'd be happy to chat with you. So as always, thank you for watching. Hector, thank you for stopping by as our special co-host. You can click to subscribe to the YouTube channel, stay up to date with what's going on. And as always, we challenge you today to take action to change the world and invest in yourself.